Hello and welcome back to Value Raters Class Act, here streaming live on YouTube, 7 o'clock on a Thursday evening. Well, how are you doing? That football was pretty good last night. I'm not sure about you, but it was celebrating long into the night. Wasn't it great to see, and looking forward to Sunday? But before that, we've got some horse racing. Of course, today seen the start of the July Festival at Newmarket, and of course that continues Friday and Saturday. But before we get into that, just you've got to do three things for me. Yes, as always, if you could give us a thumbs up, that's really helpful to the channel. Also lets me know that you're enjoying it, and if you want more content, we need to see that thumbs up. But please do also subscribe to the channel. We've got some things coming up in the future which you will need to subscribe to the channel to be notified when that's going to be live or whether it's going to be recorded. So make sure you do subscribe and hit that notification bell and select all, and that way you'll never miss a show. You'll be notified on your phone or your desktop. Now, before we get on, the racing is obviously very competitive at Newmarket. I've spent the day looking at Friday's card there. Hopefully I've identified some value, a nice price, which is currently, it's a double figure price. But before that, over the weeks, we've obviously been introducing our free content that we have here at Value Rater from our various journalists, and you can sign up for all of that by just visiting our website. But also tonight we're going to introduce one of our optional services, which is Four from the Top.
I wanted to create really a bet for everyone, you know, whether you are someone that is a horse racing enthusiast or whether you're a complete novice. Basically give anyone the opportunity to win big for a small outlay. And my dad even had it off for 50p each way. It's fair to say bookmakers would look at multiple bets as a little bit what they would associate as a mug bet, where it's a very difficult bet to pull off. But if they knew that professional punters were given these horses, they wouldn't be so keen to lay the bet. But where the bet really comes in is that if you start getting 2, 3 and then 4, and we have already done that, and before one customer reported a win of over £40,000. Four from the Top can be used as a tool to get money out of those dreaded bookies. We offer the bets out Wednesday through to Saturday. There's 4 bets on every day. It's completely pay as you go. You know, there's no obligation to sign into the service. You get your 4 bets, and then you're encouraged to put them into a lucky 15, which all bookmakers will cater for. Don't mention that you've got the bet from Value Rater at all, because you get poor odds, and they might even refuse the bet.
Yes, Four from the Top has been here for years. It stood the test of time. That actually promo video you saw there was actually recorded a couple, if not a few years ago. Since then, which was that big jackpot win, we've done it twice since as well, actually, this year. We've had some great days with it. Not very often does day go by where we don't at least have one winner, but there's loads of days where we have 2, 3 winners. If you're interested in receiving Four from the Top, as I said, Wednesday through to Friday, 4 bets on each day. You need to join the mailing list. You can either go to valuerater.co.uk, but if you look in the description box below here at YouTube, you'll see a link in there for Four from the Top. Just visit there. Great service, but of course I would say that. Right, let's get on with racing on, where are we? Newmarket, aren't we? But first, let's just have a look what the weather's going to be doing. As always, at Newmarket, we're going to be on the July course rather than the Rowley Mile. So today you can see we've been racing there today. It was good to firm ground. All the jockeys were coming back, and the times really indicated that. It's going to be dry during the morning. If we look here, 1 o'clock, they're expecting a thunder shower. So depends how much comes down there. But I think realistically, we're going to be looking at good to to firm ground, unless any of this rain here is, you know, particularly heavy then. But I think it's going to be quickish conditions. There's certainly not going to be any cut on the ground. Now, the race I want to look at is this 3 o'clock. By the way, as always, the form tool that I'm actually using is with GG's Gold. Also, there is, after the show, if you want to have a look, there's a link in the description box there. But this 3 o'clock on Friday, we can see a class 2 event run over a mile 6. So we got 4 for the stayers here, 16 runners. Reason I like these big fields on the big track, especially with a big festival meeting, really, is that the bookies offer some fantastic concessions. And this is no different in the race. We'll come to selections and things in a minute, but there are some bookies offering 6 places on this race. As always, just double check the pace of this race. There's a lot of runners. It's indicating that we can get an even gallop at least, which is good. You can see here that a couple of them like to go forward. Antiaz last time went forward, didn't he, at Ascot last time? So there's a couple that want to go forward and a few sort of want to be prominent. So I think we're going to get at least a bit of pace here. The first thing to say about this race when I went through it is 7 of the runners actually all met each other at Ascot. So I'm going to use that as the starting point, really, because it deals with the first and second favourite in here. They actually, just got a quick look here. 11-2 at the moment, the favourite in here, Global Storm, and not far behind is that Antiaz, which was, of course, the winner at Ascot. But let me just bring this form up because it's very relevant, because obviously Antiaz won the race, Holly Doyle at 33-1. Global Storm was in third. He was obviously favourite in this race. The 4th, the 7th, the 9th, the 10th, and the 14th horse in that finished in that race. They're all running in this race. So basically, you know, you've got to believe that this form is going to be the bee's knees here. And I can't really argue that it should be the front of the market. As the market's telling us, when you've got 11-2 favourite, it is a particularly competitive race. I've watched this race back a few times. I mean, they've got Global Storm as favourite here. It's got a slight weight pull. Had to give the John Gosden horse £3 last time. I think it's just £1. It's got to give it now. There's a slight. So, but basically, when I looked at this race, really, it's very difficult to say, well, you know, that's definitely going to beat this and beat that. You know, they are very tightly together. If you fancy one, you can't dismiss another. So I went rooting around in the race to see if I could find some better value. And I think I found it here. Now, this Los Wivia, lightly raced, started from humble beginnings, really. Started at Bath, went off 11-1, wasn't fancy at all there. And then went to one at Wolverhampton. But this is where it starts to get a little bit interesting for me with this horse. Is this run at Nottingham on the 27th of April, which was actually over, I think it was over course and distance. We can bring it up now. Yeah, mile 6. Now, this Nottingham race, Lost Wivia, I think that's how you pronounce it. But this is the interesting horse here, is Hockfout, who won the race. Now, as we can see, the second horse here was in receipt of £2 beaten a length. So strictly on the form, but what that tells us is that Hockfout on this run comes out about £3 in front of the second horse, which in terms of this distance, pound a length, which I use over a mile 6, you're sort of saying it's a three length better horse if they were running off level weight. But what really interests me is that also who runs in this race is that very horse, Hochfeld. Now, as you can see at the weights, Hochfeld carries 9 stone 7, Lostwithier only 9 stone 2, so is in receipt of £5. So straight away, it's better off at the weights from when they met in that race at Nottingham. I've been back to watch that race. It wasn't like the Mark Johnson horse was, you know, pulling double and won very easily. It wasn't really extended. I think that's how it was on the day. Now, Hochfeld himself, I've just come out of that. That was a mistake. Sorry. Obviously, is Frank the form, you know, last time at Newcastle in the Northumberland Plate, highly competitive race, was second actually. Steve Jones, who writes for us on his Steve Jones on Saturday, actually tipped this that day, finishing second at 28 to 1. It was completely different tactics. They decided to go forward in the Northumberland Plate. The time before, of course, is this race at Ascot, which I've just flagged up a moment ago, was back. Where was Hochfeld in here? Did he run in it? I'm sure yeah, 7th he ran in the race, but it was different tactics. But anyway, Lostwithier on this run at Nottingham, over on the same ground, good to firm, over the mile 6, basically is weighted to beat Hochfeld on that run. And of course, Hochfeld's gone to show itself as, you know, quite high class when we're talking about handicaps, at least. But it gets a little bit more exciting because the next time Lostwithier ran was at Newmarket. Now, this run, this time, he was second to Global Storm, who, of course, is the favourite in this race, off levels, was only half a length behind it. So, you know, if we look at the weight terms, Global Storm carrying 9.6, Lostwithier carrying 9.2. So even on that run, you could easily say that it's going to have the beating of Global Storm, who we know now has gone on to went on to frank that form at Newmarket to finish 3rd in that race. Also, with this Lostwithier, you can also take another £3 off because he's got a claimer on. So this horse, to me, from a handicap point of view, should have the beating of Hochfeld through that Nottingham run, should have the beating of Global Storm through that Newmarket run, which is this one here. Admittedly, it was on soft ground, but it does seem to me that Lostwithier does go on anything, whether it be soft, good to firm, whatever. Now, last time, he goes down as being disappointing, and, you know, say, well, he was beating 12 lengths at Royal Ascot, but that was over 2.5 miles. I've watched that race back. He blatantly just did not stay the trip. Travelled through the race well, and it was about just before the 2 furlong pole, he started to wave the flag. Clearly a horse that will probably ultimately, I think his distance will turn out to be 2 miles. This is back at a mile 6. I must admit, I would have preferred it to perhaps not to be so quick. Probably good to soften ground, just because it would have made it a little bit more test of stamina. But nevertheless, for those holdings of those lines of form through Global Storm and Hochfeld, and we know that all this Hochfeld and Global Storm form is all closely mixed into this Ascot race, which is obviously dominating the betting. I just think he's been a little bit overlooked in the market. Now, earlier on, he was 16 to 1. I think at the moment he's best price around 14 to 1. The negative, and this is a bit of a negative, is the trainer's form. Now, he's very quiet at the moment. He's only had 1 winner in the last 14 days. And in fact, he hasn't really had many winners over the last 30 days. He had a runner this afternoon, which I watched, and it ran okay. But, you know, I was hoping it was going to run really well to say, well, at least we know he's in form. I believe he's got a runner tonight at Epsom. I haven't seen how that's got on. But it was another one that I was hoping would go well. The trainer form is a little bit of a concern to me. Admittedly, over the last 14 days, or certainly the last 7 days, the trainer hasn't had many runners at all. But it's a price thing, really. I mean, if we look here on Odds Checker, now don't forget they're going 6 places. Who's going 6 places? Well, Sky Bet are going 6 places, but you've got to take 12 to 1. There's a host of bookmakers here that are going 5 places. Paddy Power, Betfair, BetVictor, shop around. Personally, if you can, and I know it's difficult to get on with Sky Bet at all, if you can, I would suggest taking the 12 to 1 and having the 6 places, but certainly shop around for these 5 places. I've actually backed this horse myself. I backed it earlier on when I saw the form. I backed it myself at 16s. There's a bit of money for it now. I wouldn't be surprised if it shortens a little bit further, because the form that I've just shown you, it really does, to me, it stands out a little bit like a sore thumb, and you've got to respect it. I think that the trainer and jockey combos are always very good, where he rides plenty for him. The jockey, you can see here, 27% winning straight rate, but the trainer himself, he does very well here. Look, on the course last year, 30%, 60% place rate. Basically only 10% of his runners, and not even in the frame. In the same course 5 year, he does very well here, but it is just nagging me slightly, this trainer form. But at the prices, I mean, I thought 16 was massive. Personally, anything above 10 to 1 or bigger, I think it's a cracking bet, especially with these concessions that you're going to get if you can get on this like 6 place, but at least 5 places. Do shop around. If you're on 4 places because you're sticking with your bookie and he ends up finish 5th, well, that's your fault for not shopping around and taking the 5 places. Try and get these concessions on these big meetings where you can. But I think it's an absolutely knocking bet myself, for those reasons I've said. This Nottingham form and Newmarket form, how it's worked out collaterally. And we know from the weights, I just think he's been missed a little bit here. I mean, in opposition, as I said, that Ascot form, but it's priced up. They've all gone slightly up the weights. Global Storm, again, has gone up slightly up the weights for finishing third. And of course, this Lost With You hasn't gone up the weights because it disappointed. Well, I say disappointed, it just didn't stay over 2.5 miles. I just think it will give us a massive run here. Would have preferred it a little bit more rain to make it more of a test of stamina, but I suspect that he does travel through his races well, and even if he does come under the pump a little bit out, don't worry, he will keep on going. His best work will likely to be in the finish. What else was in here that I thought was interesting? Faryak, sorry. William Haggis. Interest in this horse. I do think that this horse has been crying out for this sort of trip. Watched him at Ripon over 1.5 miles. All it was doing was staying on. And then it was really surprising to me they came back in trip at Redcar, because it was always going to be completely inadequate. And now they've jumped straight to the mile 6. Wouldn't be surprised at all to see that go well for the William Haggis team, even though it has to carry 9-10. That's a big price as well, around the 16 to 1. Mr. Beckett's horse, Prince Alex. This is okay. Well, so it's good form at Goodwood last time when it was second. The nagging thing with this horse is that that was on soft ground. His win at York was on soft ground. Not to say that it won't handle quicker conditions, but all his best form really has a lot of cut in the ground, really. But another one has to be respected. I mean, I could be here for a long time talking through a lot of these runners, because it is competitive, as the market will show you. But apart from the nagging doubt about trainer form here, I do think this will go ever so well. And form's form, and it's certainly do for me. By the way, if you've got any fancies, yourself for Newmarket over the weekend, leave us a message. Or actually, we've had a few come here. Carl Hall, evening, Carl. Another message here. Cool, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. This card is paid or free. Let us know, please. Losswell can win in each way bet tomorrow. Losswell can win in each way bet. Well, it looks like we're in agreement there. But if you've got any fancies, do let us know. But yeah, I do. Yeah, I think we could be on for a payday tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to follow me in with this Losswell, let's just double check if we can. Does anyone know if can anyone let me know if this if the trainer had a winner in the 6:30 this evening? Rather than me trying and drag it all up, let me just have a quick look. No, I don't think. No, he hasn't. He had a runner in the 6:30 and it was beaten 22 1/4 lengths. Ugh. So this is the thing. It's the trainer form, and he's got no other runners, I don't think, up until this race. You know, trainer form is important, but at the prices, you know what I already have. I've already backed it 16s myself. Do what you know. It's up to you with these sorts of things, but it is a concern, that trainer form. But it's one of those that if the horse underperforms tomorrow, you can go in and make sure you get it in your tracker, and when the trainer comes into better form, back it for all the reasons that I've said this evening. Right, there we are. Just the one selection for you. Don't forget about that 4 from the top. I say there's a link in the descriptions, and if you fancy that form that I've been looking at GG's Gold, there's also a link in the descriptions. Now, I won't be here for the next 2 weeks. I hear you, Boo. But I will be back for the Thursday, which will be, I believe, a Glorious Goodwood that week. So we'll be covering some of the Glorious Goodwood on the Friday. We've got 2 weeks off. Business matters that need my attention, unfortunately. But anyway, I hope you have a good weekend.